What's up, lovely people? KJ here, and who here still remembers Stefan Karl? If you have no idea who Stefan Karl is, basically Stefan Karl was an actor in Iceland. He did a lot of stuff involving comedy, but he's mostly notable for playing as Robbie Rotten in Lazy Town. And in around 2016, you all know the We Are Number One memes, right? Today, I want to make this video because I ordered something last year and it arrived early, like really early. Like it arrived along with all the other packages that I bought. So I don't know how or why, but it was really cool to have it in advance. And it's Stefan Karl's autobiography. Before Stefan Karl passed and before things got worse with his condition, he and Mark Valenti made a Kickstarter campaign to produce his book, which is called Life Is Now. And sadly, that Kickstarter is cancelled, but there has been a lot of people who are willing to back the project up, including me. I was willing to pay $200 for it. Basically, they planned to write this autobiography, but due to Stefan's condition getting worse and everything, they had to just cancel the project. But eventually, the book was made, and here it is. This is the book, Life Is Now by Stefan Karl and Mark Valenti, and we're gonna be reviewing this book, so I hope you enjoy this review. Before we start, I just want to say that this review will contain spoilers for the book, so if you haven't read it now. It's on Amazon. You can buy it there right now. This video isn't sponsored or anything, just, yeah, I will be spoiling this autobiography. So this book was pretty much an on and off thing, because I understand why they have to get interviews from people from Iceland, people from America, because Stefan lived in America for a while, and then there was also Stefan's condition that we have to talk about, plus privacy issues. So yeah, I can see why that this book had to be sort of delayed or was an on and off thing. But thank God they managed to finish it. And not gonna lie, just seeing the cover itself is kind of throwing me off, because I was kind of expecting something more sophisticated, like something more autobiography-ish. This looks like someone just made this in MS Paint or MS Word, and I'm just wondering why. I mean, don't you have higher quality of Stefan's headshots that you can use as a cover? This is Edward Snowden's autobiography or memoir, permanent record, and I still have to finish this, by the way. It's just really big and really heavy for me to complete. But basically, this is how the cover looks like. It's basically a photo of his face, and then the back is pretty much his face but in tiles, which you could pretty much make in Photoshop. And this looks really, really good. Like, it's professional. It's pretty much a simple photo that you commonly see when you research Edward Snowden. And yeah, but this one, are you kidding me? I mean, I understand the use of purple because Robbie Rotten, so yeah. But having a tiny photo of Stefan, and the back looks like something that you can make out of Word. It's kind of underwhelming. Even the text of the author's name is also underwhelming. Like, it looks like it has been printed badly, or they use a really weird font. I was kind of expecting more, but we all know the saying, do not judge a book by its cover. To be honest, I was hoping that this would be like a prototype cover. Like, this has to be a prototype cover. And I'm not being mean to Mark Valenti or Stefan Karl or anyone who's involved in the creation of the cover and the back, but it's just that I could do a better cover than this on Photoshop when if I want to. Like, I could do so much, like, you can do so much better. That's all I'm saying. You can do so much better, and I can demonstrate how you can make it so much better. So this book comes into 3 parts. So the first part is pretty much basically Stefan Karl's life story, how he was raised, who his parents were, what they were like, how he was as a kid, and pretty much his life as an actor, the struggles, and the time when he had cancer, and when he found out about Lazy Town memes and everything, all that stuff. It's basically his life story from the start to the end. Next part is basically text messages between Stefan and Mark Valenti during the time when Stefan got cancer to the time before he died, and it's pretty much a bunch of conversations between each other. Some of them are funny, some of them are serious, some of them are like business-wise, and some of them are about the creation of this book and why they wanted to make it and everything. And yeah, it's just an interesting view on how those two talk, from Stefan first being diagnosed to the part where he's about to lose his life. And part 3 is basically the Reddit Ask Me Anything that Stefan Karl did on Reddit back in 2017. And it's pretty much it. A Reddit Ask Me Anything. All the questions and answers and responses were put into the book. So here's the thing, when I read this book, despite the underwhelming cover, I really enjoyed what's inside it. Like, I've been highlighting like crazy. Like, if you follow me on Twitter, you should know that I've been highlighting a lot of this book because there's so many interesting quotes and stuff that we can learn from. And what I like about reading the first part of this autobiography is that I get a better grasp on Icelandic media compared to Western American media, how the industry works, how the government literally turned off television on Julys and Thursdays just so people could bond with each other and everything. We got to know what Stefan was like as a kid and how he wanted to be an actor since he was young because he wants to make people laugh and everything. One of my favorite chapters in part 1 is basically chapter 4, where Stefan talks about him being Robbie Rotten when Lazy Town was greenlit to be produced and made with Nickelodeon, and Stefan, in his mind, he's thinking, oh hell yes, I'm gonna be an actor. And when it was still the planning and all the pre-production, when they're still figuring out how the show will work, when it would be aired, just pretty much all the planning stages and everything before anything was filmed. Basically, the head executives and pretty much of Nickelodeon was pretty much telling Stefan, it's gonna be all okay, we're gonna help you become an actor, we're gonna help you make it to the Western industry, it's gonna be great. And Stefan was looking forward to it, but in reality, they just ignored him and they wouldn't help him at all, and they just tried to say anything just to push him aside, ignore him and everything. They barely did shit. Like, there's this one quote in the book that pretty much says, all the pretty words, all the promises, it was just BS. My feelings was, why would these people want to manipulate someone like me? What did I do to them? It would have been easy for them to avoid making promises. It's not like I was asking for them. They took it upon themselves to say not only that they were glad that I was on the show, but they would help me do even bigger things later. People will always take advantage of the gullibility of artists. We are gullible because that's how we maintain access to our emotions, to our reservoir of feelings and ideas. Business people know that and use that openness to almost perform human experiments on them, like a cat toying with a mouse. And I was naive, believing all these pretty stories they were spinning about my future. So that's on me. I don't see them as bad people. I just think they became caught up in the sound of their own voices and didn't focus on the fact that they were dealing with a real, living, and breathing human beings. That quote hit me hard! When I was reading the book as well, I've noticed that there has been a few quotes from Mauni, and there was this one quote that I recognized because he told me when I met him in Iceland, and it's pretty much the story about how when he was on this cruise ship with his wife and everything and his family, he overheard these two Spanish kids singing "We Are Number One" in a swimming pool, and I was like, oh my god, I remember this story because he told me, and it was just so weird reading it and hearing it again. Part 1 is a really interesting read. It felt like an actual autobiography. The only problem is that the autobiography is this much. It's literally 97 pages of Stefan's life. I mean, I was hoping for more. Like, I was hoping to hear more about his life. But then again, it's the quality over quantity. So I understand why they made it to 3 parts. So fair enough. But yeah, I was kind of hoping for more. But 97, 98 pages of his life story, I'll take it. Like, I did enjoy reading it. Like, I highlighted a lot of stuff. Like, a lot of quotes and everything. So yeah, this is literally the first book I enjoyed highlighting quotes because they're just so good. And I got to learn some stuff about the media industry and how media is done in Iceland compared to its US counterparts, and just how the world of acting was kind of hard for Stefan because him being Icelandic and everything, and he has to get a green card and just risks so much in order to make it into the industry. It's just really beautiful just to read it. So part 2 is pretty much text messages between Stefan Karl and Mark Valenti, and not gonna lie, they're okay, I guess. Like, I enjoy reading. It's like a casual conversation between one guy and another, just talking, being all casual, banty, talking about problems and everything, and it's just alright. It's like okay to read it. Like, you're reading text messages between the two writers of this book. You see this, you get to know what Stefan was like when he was sick. You get to see how he was dealing. It's sort of like the inside psychological mind of Stefan while he was slowly dying, I guess, in a lack of better words, while talking to his friend from America. So fair enough. And it's just alright. There's some funny quotes as well, and one of them is a line that I didn't expect to see. And it pretty much involves, where is it? Something about cloning, and it's just so weird. It's pretty much saying that, oh yeah, send me your spit and I will clone you. And then Stefan said, okay, why would I just masturbate and send you my semen instead? And it was like, okay, I didn't expect to hear that or read that, but alright. Also, this one other funny quote when it came to the American election, where Mark Valenti and Stefan Karl were talking about US politics and stuff. And this happened on February 8, 2017 at 2:30 p.m. We don't know the time zone. Probably American time zone, so PST is the time zone in California. So Stefan texted Mark, "How are things in the US? I can't understand how you guys can stand this whole Trump situation. It's like our mother married a very bad man, and all we can do is hope that she either divorces him or we have to hide in our room for the rest of our lives. It's bad. I think Europe thinks the same. When is drunk, violent Uncle Trumpy coming for a visit?" Okay, that's a really interesting analogy on how to view Donald Trump. Things get sad in the near end of part 2 because, like I said, you're following when Stefan was first diagnosed or before he even knew he was diagnosed, and then we're just following the timeline until the part where Stefan isn't texting anymore. It's Stefan's brother because Stefan was just too sick and eventually he's dead. And then the final lines of part 2, it's Stefan's words of saying, "Promise me you'll remember me. For God's sake, at least promise me you will remember me." It's just so sad. Oh my god. Like, it's basically an emotional roller coaster because in part 2, at first in my head it's pretty much, okay, it's just gonna be a bunch of text messages. You're probably not gonna think much of it. You're just gonna read it, see what happens. But you do enjoy the banter of Stefan and Mark Valenti. You get to see what Stefan is like during his happiest and his saddest, and this is during his personal moments. This is his personal thoughts. Text messages, which I don't know if they were edited or not, so I'll take that as a grain of salt, but I'll just say that those were authentic. Maybe there were some messages that were not used because of privacy reasons, but the ones that were able to share just shows Stefan's mindset about the whole thing, and it's just really interesting. And then things get sad and sad and sad, and you want to cry, but how many times do you have to cry for an actor when you've been grieving since 2018, 2017, and then you have to grieve again in 2019 when you go to Iceland and the first thing that you guys talk about is Stefan. Like, how many times do you have to be sad? And then you're reading the book again and you're just wondering, do I have to cry one more time? And I feel like I should, but I'm trying not to. And I have friends who were reading the book and they started bawling since just by reading the first part of the book. So if they haven't finished it yet, because I heard they were just savoring the whole thing, I can't wait to see what the reaction is in part 2. Part 3 is pretty much the Reddit Ask Me Anything, and I thought nothing of it because I read the Reddit Ask Me Anything like when I first heard of it, so I didn't think much of it. Basically, it's just the Reddit Ask Me Anything. According to Lazy Pookie, apparently if you get the Kindle version, not the hard copy or the soft paperback or whatever, you get to click on the usernames and then you get sent to the page and everything. So it's there's some low-key interactivity in those chapters or whatever. One of my favorite ones is basically this Ask Me Anything from Chris Crow 3, and I remember this quote because this was the first thing that I saw in that link or anything. It's pretty much Chris asking, way deep down inside, what does Robbie really think about the residents of Lazy Town? And Stefan respond with, "I wish I could be their friend." And then there's this person who replied to that. Her name is Ashley Scared, and it pretty much goes, "The most depressing part is the residents were always kind to him no matter what he did. He did have friends, he just never realized it." And oh my god, I want to cry again by reading that. Like, cry internally, not physically, because I read that question multiple times back in 2017, 2018, because it was just so sad. It's a nice way to know what Robbie was like the mind of Robbie Rotten, and it just puts in more depth on what Robbie wants. If you gotta think about it, right? Like if you watch episode 1 or a few episodes, Robbie tries to be with the kids and he does things in an odd and interesting way. But there are some cases where he sort of bribes them a bit, like he gives them candy and video games and whatnot. But Robbie doesn't know how to talk to these people. So if he wants to be their friend, he has to put in effort. But then again, there were episodes where he did try to put it in effort, like the Christmas specials. And if we want to go back to Jolly Latabay, listen to Alain Unyolin, where he pretty much sings about being alone. Oh my god, I have to revisit my Lazy Town media and everything. I have to revisit the lore because there's so much to talk about, but I don't want to get into it. Oh my god! And at the end of the book, there were final farewells, and it's pretty much quotes from people who worked with Stefan, people who interacted with him, who knew him and everything. And they're alright, but there's this one which was the very last, and it's from the people who run Get Lazy, from Poek, and apparently it was translated by Chris Crow. And it's pretty much Poek talking about how Stefan made a huge impact for the fans, and that's what I like about that part of the final farewells, because it represents the fans basically. There is fan representation in this goddamn book, and I love it. At the final farewells, the fact that it was the last part of the final farewells just shows that not only Stefan has left an impact to professionals, people in the industry, both in Iceland and America, but he left an impact for the community, the fans, the people who watched him as a kid or teenager or college student or whenever. It's just really beautiful, and I'm just so glad that fans were able to be represented in this book. And the fact that we're the final words, like the very final group of people got to say anything. Wow! So thoughts of this book. Basically, it's a really good book, worth the read. I'm still slightly underwhelmed on the cover, but the content inside is really good. Like, you get to know what's upon this slide, you get to see his psychology, and then you get to hear words from people who worked with him, who interacted with him, who knew him, and it's just an amazing read. If I were able to give this book a rating, it would be 4 out of 5, mostly because the cover kind of sucks. Like, the content in the book is good. Like, I wish there was more, but what we got is perfect enough, in my opinion. But the cover, seriously guys, you need to change the cover. Like, you can do better than this. Like, seriously, you can do better than this MS Word basic Photoshop mess that you got here. But this is just my opinion. I don't hate it, it's just you can do better. But the insides is really great. Like, it's really, really good. I enjoy reading it. I enjoy highlighting quotes and everything. And yeah, it's just, I enjoy the read. And yeah, those are my thoughts on Life Is Now. If you want to read the book is available to be purchased on Amazon. Links down below. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this book review. So if you like this video, feel free to press like, feel free to subscribe to my channel for more content, feel free to hit the notification bell, and yeah, my name is Kitty J out, and see you guys next time. Ciao!